Thom Hartmann here on the news. You need to know this. While the state of his job as governor is in limbo, Scott Walker gave his State of the State address Wednesday night in Madison, Wisconsin, and let's just say it didn't go so well. Hundreds protested outside the Capitol building before the speech, and throughout the speech, chants against Walker could be heard from the Capitol rotunda. Within the chamber, 5 different protesters interrupted Walker's speech, calling him a liar, and had to be escorted out. Clearly, after gathering more than 1 million signatures last week for recall, Wisconsinites are fed up with their governor who declared a war on working people last year. But Walker has millionaires and billionaires who want him to stay in office and are giving huge amounts of money to make sure that happens. In just 5 weeks, Walker has raised more than $4.5 million, mostly from out-of-state donors like oil barons in Texas and banksters in Manhattan. Collecting the signatures in Wisconsin was the easy part. Winning a recall election against a massive corporate spending machine, that's going to be the hard part. Indiana is screwed as it crept from one step closer to becoming the 23rd state in the nation to pass a right-to-work-for-less law. The state house passed legislation that was passed by the Senate earlier in the week to bring right-to-work-for-less to that state, putting an end to closed union shops and pitting workers against workers across Indiana, thus killing off the union movement in that state. The bill now awaits Governor Mitch Daniels' signature, who took a break from his war on unions this week to deliver the Republicans' response to the President's State of the Union address. Indiana will become the first state of the nation's manufacturing belt to pass a right-to-work-for-less law, which has been proven to lead to lower wages, lower health care coverage, and more workplace accidents. In the best of the rest of the news, 2 critical pieces of legislation will be introduced in Congress this week. Democrat Chris Van Hollen in the House plans to introduce an updated version of the Disclose Act, forcing corporate entities behind super PAC ads to disclose who they are. And a version of this legislation passed in the House in 2010, but died in the Senate because of a Republican filibuster. Considering we're on the verge of a billion-dollar election, this is much-needed legislation to bring at least a little bit of transparency to the sell-off of our democracy. Also, Democratic Senator Al Franken is teaming up with Tea Party Congressman Jeff Landry in the House to introduce legislation to strip out the controversial indefinite detainee provision in the Defense Authorization Act passed by Congress and recently signed by the President. Thankfully for the United States, upholding constitutional freedoms has become a bipartisan issue. Call Congress and tell them to pass these 2 key pieces of legislation. Adbusters, the organization that brought us the Occupy Wall Street movement, issued a new call for action this week. The G8 and NATO are scheduled to hold a summit in Chicago during the first week of May, and Adbusters is calling on 50,000 people from around the planet to set up tents and occupy the city in hopes of pulling off the biggest multinational occupation of a summit meeting the world has ever seen. The occupation will bring with it a list of demands, including a Robin Hood tax, essentially a tax on stock trades, a ban on high-frequency flash trading, a binding climate change accord, a 3 strikes and you're outlaw for corporate criminals, and an all-out initiative for a nuclear-free Middle East. Adbusters is calling on demonstrators to bring a tent. We like to think of ourselves as the top nation in the world when it comes to press freedom, but America's not even close. The organization Reporters Without Borders released their annual Press Freedom Index this week, showing that the United States has dropped 27 places and now ranks 47th in the world when it comes to press freedoms. We rank behind countries like Namibia, Niger, and Romania. According to the report, our press freedoms took a hit because of the, quote, many arrests of journalists covering the Occupy Wall Street movement, end quote. The press is the only industry specifically mentioned in our Constitution because our founders knew that without a free and open press, our democracy can't function. The World Economic Forum in Davos gave a rare platform to women's rights on Wednesday when South Africa's Desmond Tutu said it was time for women around the world to start their own revolution. Tutu addressed the world's political and financial elite, most of whom are men, telling them, "Let us realign forces. Let us ensure that women have a significant part in the decision-making process. What we need is a revolution led by women. I think women ought to be saying to us men, you made a mess, just get out and let us in." Tutu makes a fair point, especially in the United States, which ranks 71st in the world when it comes to female representation in government. Despite making up half the population of our country, women make up only 17% of our government. To put that in perspective, we rank 35 places below Iraq. Time to bring more women to Washington, D.C. And finally, President Obama and Arizona Governor Jan Brewer had a heated conversation on a tarmac in Phoenix Wednesday. Brewer greeted the president when Air Force One landed at Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport and invited him to meet with her. According to press reports, the president accepted the invite but took issue with how Brewer described the last meeting the two had back in 2010, a meeting that Brewer described as very cordial at the time, but later in her book wrote that the president was condescending toward her. But that would just be the tip of the iceberg of things the president could take issue with. Brewer has caused countless suffering for many people in the state of Arizona, with their destruction of the state's Medicaid system, her unconstitutional Papers, Please law, and her rewrite of school curricula. And that's the way it is today, Thursday, January 26th, 2012. I'm Thom Hartmann on the news.
Equality. Will you provide me with security when I leave here, because the men won't like what I'm going to say.
All security
yes,
you wish.
Yes.
Only female security.
No, but I mean, this is serious. I have tried to say, you know, what we need is a revolution led by women. I think women ought to be saying to us men, you have made a mess. Just get out and let us in. Let me tell you why.
But then we exclude 50% of the world population.
Yes. Women, you know, when that war kept going on in Liberia, the women decided, no, we've had enough. And they said, we want to drive the devil back to hell. It's no wonder 2 of the women in Liberia got the Nobel Peace Prize, and the third was a woman again from Yemen. Unless we reorder the way we do things, and we say we are going to try and have economic and social equity. Look at what is happening. I mean, young people right around the world are in touch with one another through the internet, through YouTube, through blogs and whatever. And it was young people who drove very much the Arab Spring. And it is largely young people in the Occupy movement